The North Carolina Tar Heels have reportedly found their next quarterback in the transfer portal in Gio Lopez. This opens the door for some hot takes.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Shout out to the everydayers, and thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. On this episode, I think we jinxed Cal last night because we were talking in yesterday's episode about how they were down 4 running backs in the portal in 24 hours. But hey, at least they still have Javion Thomas, right? Not so much. We'll talk about, what kind of guardrails can be put up or should have been put up in this crazy transfer portal and NIL era that we're in. But let's start with the North Carolina Tar Heels, Kenton. I think it was probably pretty apparent throughout spring football that UNC didn't really have a true starting quarterback. I think that was a need that Bill Belichick and his general manager, Michael Lombardi, have identified. UNC, before the transfer portal even opened, they were very briefly linked to Nico coming out of Tennessee. Nico has reportedly about to land with UCLA, by the way. So it looks like that's happening. So that's no longer an ACC story, I guess. But the guy that looks like is going to be a Tar Heel is Gio Lopez. If you haven't heard that name before, I don't blame you because I don't know how much South Alabama football our fans have been watching out there. I mean, I know Kenton is a big South Alabama Jaguars fan. I don't know how many others we have out there. And listen, Gio Lopez, I'm not going to, completely downplay this because I think he's one of the better G5 quarterbacks available. He has had some issues, Kenton, staying on the field healthy, which I think is why he only threw for 2,500 yards last season, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. But, when it comes to all the razzle dazzle of the coaching hire and the GM, am I downplaying Gio Lopez too much? Is he like the next great Power 4 quarterback? Am I not giving him enough credit?
I mean, I'll say this. Lopez has been a dynamic player both through the air and with his legs. We got to give Gio Lopez the respect that when he's healthy, he's good. And like we saw with Tyler Shough, if you have a quarterback whisperer, all of a sudden they can start to look a lot better. But also, like we saw with Tyler Shough, you can try to change, but that's just the top layer, homie. You was who you was when you got here. There are certain things that are kind of, if you have health problems, getting behind. Quick question, Donald. Who's going to be UNC's running back next year?
I know it's not going to be a Marion Hampton.
Okay. Quick question. Any offensive linemen of note over there? Any offensive linemen that come to mind that you're like, oh, this is an all-conference performer. This is a guy that I know is going to be playing on Sundays?
Nope.
So you combine a team that objectively got hit pretty hard by the portal, and shout out to Raleigh native Bo Atkinson still being hit by the portal. You combine that with a quarterback who's had health issues. I don't think that that's a marriage that's necessarily destined for success.
Yeah. And North Carolina is also, you were telling me off air that they're also losing edge rusher Braylon Charles. He's entering the transfer portal as of last night, 6'4", 270-pound edge. So that's the other side of the football, of course, but that's another playmaker that North Carolina is losing. And it's like, they're to be fair to the other side of this, because I know North Carolina fans, they already don't like you, Kenton, for obvious reasons. Now they're not going to like me either. They're not going to like me either for raising this question. So let me also give the other side of it, right? It does feel a little bit unfair to be judging the Bill Belichick era in April, because I know part of the mystique and the magic of the hoodie is that he is such an accomplished game day coach, right? That he's put together this staff that he loves so much that they're going to be able to develop and maximize the players that they have. And we should not judge until September. But here we are judging in April. But on the flip side of that, when it comes to just, all of the hype that they're trying to produce in Chapel Hill, when you start calling yourself the 33rd NFL team, which is like, it's such a shameless marketing thing, but again, that's out there. And it, doesn't, like, they've got a decently ranked transfer portal class. They're in the top 15, but it's mostly quantity over quality. Same thing with their recruiting class, and it's still early. I think they have the 12th ranked 2026 recruiting class in the country, but they have a lot of commits. I think 13 verbal commits. Only one of them's a 4-star, a lot of 3-stars after that. So I don't know. I think some people may be expected, now that you've got Belichick and you've got an accomplished former NFL GM and Mike Lombardi there, that guys are just going to be 5 stars, transfers and recruits are going to be lining up for miles. They're going to be lining up from Charlotte to Chapel Hill to go play there. It doesn't feel like that's really the case so far. They haven't really disrupted college football yet.
The mythology of who Bill Belichick is just that. It's mythology. A lot of it is a myth. Let's be honest about what we saw from Bill Belichick last time he was a head coach. How did that go? How did that go? Very seriously. Was he this genius that somehow made, oh yeah, we've got this quarterback from Alabama that everybody says physically he doesn't have the tools, but he's a winner. And last time he got with a quarterback who didn't have all the tools, but he was a winner. What happened? How'd that end? How'd that story end?
Second time, not so well.
And here's the thing. I'm not saying this because this is a guy at UNC. I would say the same thing. If he was at Miami, if he was at NC State, I would be, woof. I don't want to see that. But in all seriousness, this is a coach that we have built up and kind of idolized and put on this mountain of, he can win with anybody. I'm sorry to tell you, it's never about your X's and your O's. It's your Larrys and your Joes. Even if you look at those great Patriots teams, how many of them win Super Bowls without veterans taking sweetheart deals, without guys who are mentioned as derelicts taking amazing deals? Randy Moss had 1 foot out the league. Oh, he's a terrible player. And then all of a sudden, he's a record-breaking receiver again.
Right.
Rodney Harrison, superstar with the Chargers, took a sweetheart deal to go over there because he was like, I want to win. It helps you win. Junior Seau, God rest his soul.
Right.
Same deal. So we can sit here and talk about, you saw the 30 for 30, the 2 bills. That was in the 80s, man. Lawrence Taylor was a player when that was happening. The great UNC Tar Heel himself. He was a player when Bill Belichick was this guy that was scheming up things that nobody ever seen before. It's too late. It's too late. That ship has sailed. That ball game is over. The book is out. And again, I don't think that I've seen anything from Bill Belichick to indicate, hey, he's going to be a massive success right off the bat, especially with the turmoil behind the scenes that's been covered by The Athletic that's already seeping out of Chapel Hill. It's a marriage that's already off to a shaky start before you even play the snap. Hopefully he can be the guy that he says, or hopefully he is the guy that many people remember, because if not, this is not just me disliking Carolina. This is me with my ACC hat on. It's going to be a bad time when the nation loses respect and they don't have a likable head coach. At least Matt Brown was likable. Say what you want about the guy. He was fun. He was whimsical. He was likable. Bill Belichick is not that. So you need to win or else.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. And listen, again, I don't want to. I feel like we've been very disrespectful to Gio Lopez. I hope he goes and he balls out because he seems like a good dude and electrifying player. You mentioned the dual threat capabilities. I mentioned his passing stats were 2,500 yards, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, but also ran for 465 yards and scored 7 touchdowns on the ground. So we shall see. It's just not necessarily the big name pull that we thought maybe Belichick and company could have at North Carolina. That's all. Now, a team that's really going to need to bring in a lot of bodies in the transfer portal. And like, if they don't bring in like 3 running backs at least, I don't know if they'll be able to field a team next year. What is going on out in Berkeley? We'll tell you when we come back. You want to keep it locked right here on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. Oh, I already know you're keeping it locked to FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here. I got play-in action tonight for my Miami Heat. You know I've got FanDuel picks for that one. FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Guys, I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. And even if you're like a novice sports bettor, FanDuel makes it so easy to understand. Like, trust me, you're going to feel like you're a veteran after a couple days or even a couple of hours on the app. Guys, plus after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Thank you for making Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch today. For your next listen, make sure you check out our other shows. I host Locked On Canes, talking everything Miami Hurricanes. Miami lost a couple more young guys into the transfer portal today. Receiver Nye Carr, edge rusher Elias Rudolph. So you have transfer portal exits taking place around the country. Kenton and Grayson Boone do an awesome job hosting Locked On Wolfpack. They're keeping you covered with all things transfer portal there as well. We don't have a Locked On Cal, but I feel like if anybody out there wants to jump on and host that show, there's plenty to talk about right now. So Kenton, I think we may have jinxed Cal yesterday because, we were talking about all the running backs that they've lost over the past 48 hours, right? They had lost Jaden Ott, who's one of our favorites, just an electrifying player. They lost Justin Williams Thomas, which was probably the guy who played the least in that running back room. Byron Cardwell, though, one of their top rushers, Kadarius Callaway. But at least last night we were saying, hey, at least Javion Thomas isn't going anywhere, who was their leading rusher last year. And then on Wednesday, Javion Thomas jumps into the transfer portal. The Golden Bears have lost 5 running backs in 48 hours, Kenton. How many I think they have one scholarship running back left, by the way. Just one.
Well, get ready to learn some run and shoot, boys. Call up old Kendrick Raphael, who, by the way, I'm not joking and saying that facetiously. I think the word of Kendrick Raphael. I think he's a wonderful running back, former NC State running back. Give him a call. You need something. You need something at this point because, unless you're going to be, again, run and shoot, full-on empty, bringing out your best impersonation of Steve Spurrier, you are going to need a ton of help in the running back room. Donna, quick question. Can you name one running back that they have that's still on scholarship?
No, I saw it earlier today on a tweet, and I already forgot.
Can you give me any rushing stats from that young man from last year? Of course you can. The point is,
I can make some. I was going to make some up, but keep going. I don't know.
But that's my point. That's my point here, right? And again, Dono, you and I are both junkies for this type of stuff. We are both guys who are football lifers. We watch the game. We study the game. Both of our teams played Cal last year. So we had to do breakdowns of, hey, these are the guys that matter for Cal. These are the guys that are going to be problematic. Every single guy that from a running back standpoint we mentioned is gone. It's gone. Everybody was saying, oh, we don't care. We don't care. And listen, I got plugged into the Cal algorithm. I love it there. They're great fans. They're great fans. I really do. Cal football fans are the best. All throughout the Cal algorithm, what I kept hearing was, oh, Javion's better anyway. Oh, we're good. We got Javion. Oh, Javion's here. We're okay. You're not. You are, in fact, not okay anymore. He is not there anymore. This is, oh, man. Oh.
Look, are you looking? So let me just, for the audio listener.
Yeah.
This is, I don't know who this Twitter or X user is, but I just found this, and it's like, wow, you talk about ironic, famous last words. So this was posted 12 days ago by part of the Calgorithm, Romero West Coast, who says, Cal has a top tier running back room, not only in the ACC conference, but the entire nation. don't sleep on the California Golden Bears running backs this season. Jaden Ott and I think Javion Thomas are the two that are pictured there. And yeah, so you talk
And
about
the thing
unfortunate
is,
timing. 12 days ago, we're flexing our running back room. Now,
And the thing is, Romero wasn't wrong. Shout out to Romero West Coast, because when you think about that duo, you had a guy that averaged 6 yards last year in the leading rusher, and then you had Jay Knott, who
Thomas.
objectively one of the most explosive players returning to college football, who was badly hampered by injury last year, but we know what he can do when healthy. We've seen it, and now both of them. Hey, one of them is going to be in Norman, Oklahoma, which, by the way, you talk about an adjustment of lifestyle, going from Berkeley, California to Norman, Oklahoma. Ooh, what an adjustment. And then, your leading rusher gets in the portal too. I mean, wow. Romero West Coast, shout out to you, brother. But those are some famous last words. Those are some tough. It's like the quote, "A ship not even God can sink," about the Titanic. Like, yeah. It was until it wasn't.
Yeah, and let me give part of this from the Cal perspective, and I'm not saying they wanted to lose Javion Thomas and Jaden Ott. Obviously, you don't, but they did have sweeping changes in coaching on the offensive side of the football, and Kenton, their new offensive coordinator is Brian Harsin, and if they're any Auburn fans listening to this, you're loudly cursing his name right now. And there's not too many Harsin fans in that part of the world. And yeah, I was chatting about all this turnover. I was chatting earlier today with our guy, Brian Smitty from the Portal podcast. And I'm like, so why are they losing all this guys? He said, well, hey, Brian Harsin is their new offensive coordinator. And my response was, well, what is he rubbing guys the wrong way, or is he trying to clear out his roster? And the answer was yes. It's both of those things are happening. I think guys are making decisions about their future, and then maybe Harsin also wants to go and handpick a lot of his guys in the portal. But again, I'm not saying they wanted to lose Jaden Ott and Javion Thomas. That's obviously not the case. But maybe Harsin partially likes the idea of having the opportunity to go and bring in a bunch of guys on his side of the ball.
Here's my only problem with that. Why would you hire a coordinator from a school that you beat because their quarterback could not stop finding wide open Cal Bear defenders? Why is that?
He didn't coach the defense.
No, he did not coach the defense. No. He
not specifically anyway.
Well,
hold on. Well, actually, he wasn't there when they beat him though.
Okay,
he wasn't there. He wasn't there. Yeah, he wasn't there.
Hey, Cal fans, I'm sorry. Hey, my bad. I was about to say I could not believe that. But I will say this. You have to know where you're at. You have to be aware of who you are and where you are. If you clean house at Cal, by the way, one of the rooms that I think is one of their most talented, if not their most talented position, what's the replacement? What are you going to come up with that you're like, oh, this is exponentially better than what we had? I know for a fact, because we now have cleaned out all these guys, we can get better. I can understand if you're in a spot where you know for a fact, hey, getting rid of these guys and replacing them with better, it's nothing. It's, this position is objectively a weakness on our offense. We can do better tomorrow. We can go get some JUCO guys. Go get me some last chance of you boys, and we'll be better. That Cal running back room was not one of those.
Yeah, but also to be fair to Cal, this era is so crazy. I mean, Jaden Ott very quickly hit the portal and gets automatically linked to Oklahoma. I know you like to put the whole tampering thing. You like to focus in on a team that I may or may not cover. But it seems like there may have been some of that going on in Norman, Oklahoma with Jaden Ott. Okay, era.
Anybody who says that there's only one team that tampers, your team just ain't doing it enough. That's all that means. That's all that means. We've seen it. We've seen who among us hasn't seen it. I will admit, out here in the public, before Noah Rogers was even in the transfer portal at Ohio State, when I heard that he wasn't liking the code up there, I immediately start firing up the memes and whatnot about how he needed to come back to North Carolina and about how Ohio is a second-rate state, which it is. I mean,
It
who
is.
wants to live there? It's a terrible. I've never heard anybody say anything good about Ohio, the state of Ohio, outside of the Buckeyes and LeBron James. So, yeah, I will admit that as somebody who didn't have any financial things to offer Noah Rogers, I immediately said, hey, let's hop on the phone. And I had heard some things about some people putting some things out there, not from NC State, not from the coaches, but I had heard some things about some people being in his ear to get him to come back. So I'm not going to sit here and play like, oh, my school is innocent and we would never and da-da-da-da-da. Everybody's school is doing it. If you're complaining about it, you're just not good at it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Bingo. Now, I would like to ask you, as someone who played, like you played right before the NIL transfer portal era. You did tell me you're going to get like a few bucks from the house settlement. So we'll see. Well, we got to make sure that passes first. But I would like to know your thoughts on just the pure chaos and if there's anything that can be done. You want to keep it locked right here, my friends. We're not done yet on this brand new Locked On ACC. Thank you for making Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch today. For your next listen, make sure you check out our guy Spencer McLaughlin on Locked On College Football. He's been rocking it, right? I mean, transfer portal season. This is we all shine this time of year, right? Whether it's Locked On Wolfpack, Locked On Canes, the Portal Podcast with Brian Smith, Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin. So yeah, I mean, listen, I'm sure that the Calgorithm can get behind this, and with all the guys that they're losing in the transfer portal, Kenton. I mean, and you and I, we've said this 100 times, and believe me, we mean it. I know Kenton means it because he played right before the NIL era. Like I am fully supportive of players making money, and I'm probably more adaptable to this area than a lot of other. Like I'm not like the old man sitting on his porch, like. I remember when they were amateurs, the players should make nothing. Like I'm not that guy. But when it comes to, a big difference between college football and the NFL, when they have multi-year contracts, collective bargaining agreements, the teams just have a little bit more control. In college, not only do you have players jump to different programs sometimes every single year, but sometimes you'll bring in a player in December and then he leaves again in April. Like it's happening a lot around the country. There's a Mekhi Bayer, a linebacker who left Nebraska from Mizzou in April, left Mizzou. He's already signed with I can't remember which program he's already signed. He's already found a new program in April. Like this is, I mean, do you believe, Kenton, that there needs to be some regulation and guardrails? And is it even possible for the NCAA to do that at this point?
The NCAA can do that, but here's how they have to do it. Give the 99% power to cut the legs from under the 1%. Here's what you do if you're the NCAA. Hey, players, all of you, come together. Come to us. All of you, get representatives to represent you all, and we will collectively bargain with you. When we come up with a collective bargaining agreement, you cannot say, oh, I want more, I'm going to do this or that. Your players agreed to this. And any player coming into the collective bargaining agreement, again, if you pass it with common sense rules, right? We don't go back to the days where, oh, are you wearing Oregon gloves? Did you pay for those gloves? Did you pay for those Miami gloves? I know that it's cool to do the U on the sideline with it showing in your gloves, but did you pay for those? As long as we keep it with basic common sense rules, right? I know a lot of players are getting paid to go on visits, all that stuff. Sure, keep that.
Yeah.
It's just like a company. If you're one of the best in the world at any job, people are going to pay you to entice you to come to their company. They're going to do that type of thing. I've seen it firsthand. So keep common sense rules. Let everybody come to the table, because guess what? Like I said, Nico, even with the everything underperforming, whatever the case may be, he was a 1% of 1%er in terms of his NIL deals, in terms of his value. People are now saying, oh, Carson Beck didn't actually get paid $4 million or whatever. Whatever the hell he did get paid, it's probably more than what Nico was making. But guess what? He's a 1% of 1%er. Proctor, who went from Alabama to Iowa, back to Alabama without ever playing a game for Iowa. He's a 1% of 1%er. You know who's not 1% of 1%ers? The entire Iowa football team. None of them fit in that category. So they can stop things like that from ever happening. The NCAA's hope and choice is that. And sure, you'll get some rogue kids who say, well, I am a 1% and I should have made I should have gotten a Bryce Underwood contract. I should have gotten this. I should have gotten that. Do you know how easy that is to quell when you say, hey, this young man opted in to the collective bargaining agreement. And in the collective bargaining agreement, there are certain things that are put in place to allow 1%ers to make all the money. There are just guardrails around them negotiating during the season. There are guardrails around them and their ability to hold out or withhold their labor. Like, to me, what killed the NCAA's ability to control anything was them squeezing too tight. What can save their ability to put in some type of guardrails now is, instead of choking the life out of the players and pretending like Terrell Pryor is a bad guy for getting some tattoos, instead of doing that, we can now say, hey, come to the table. Let's collectively bargain. Let's stop playing like you all are amateurs. Because, again, me and Dono, having a locked-on 5-on-5 tournament where every conference that has the squad, our main guys who show up got to play against each other in Lifetime Fitness, that's amateurism. Mm-hmm. What's not amateurism is the NCAA tournament brought to you by FanDuel. That's not amateurism. That's not the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. That's not amateurism. That's something entirely different.
You know, and I know that there are, it would not fix all of this or maybe even most of it, but I know that there are some hopes that, like, the House settlement can take some of this craziness away. And I want to, in our next episode, we're going to devote more time into the latest on the House settlement. And, you know, Kenton, the last time we talked about it 2-3 weeks ago, you know, you remember Claudia Wilkin, the judge, you know, told the plaintiff lawyers, all the lawyers, like, hey, I want to see changes to certain things, including roster limits, right? And then we said it back then. Do not, like, these lawyers did not sound like they were in a position to make the changes that the judge was asking for. They had another hearing on it earlier today. And as Stuart Mandel posts, the parties in the House case filed their response to Judge Wilkins' concerns last night. Okay, so there's not a new hearing. They filed this. There were very few changes and none at all regarding roster limits. So now the new debate has become, is the judge going to approve this? Because she needs to. Like, she's got final say on whether this can go into effect. And if she told them, like, I really need you guys to make certain changes, they didn't make the changes. How do we know the judges can actually approve it? And I want them to approve it because I want Kenton to get paid. So we got to make this happen, man.
Listen, I want me to get paid. My landlord, Duke Energy, Ally Financial. No, we ain't going to go into all that. But no, in all seriousness, this is a situation where a lot of people, for a lot of reasons, are sitting on pins and needles, kind of anticipating and waiting for what's going to happen here, because this is big time stuff. So whether or not the necessary changes were made for the judge to feel good about this, that's of vital importance. And again, Donald and I have some pretty big updates for you on our next episode about that.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, we appreciate everyone tuning in, making Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch today. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. We'll talk to you again on another episode of Locked On ACC. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.